हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। ओम गणानाहं त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पदानश्चिन्वन्नोदिभिस्सीदसादनम्। ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे श्रीगुरुपरम्पराम्। ओम श्री शंकराचार्य स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम।
गुरुभ्यो नमः।
नमस्ते महोदय। शीला शिंदे भगिनी।
ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ सप्तदशोऽध्यायः श्रद्धात्रय विभाग योगः। अर्जुन उवाच ये शास्त्रविधिमुत्सृज्य यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेषां निष्ठा तु का कृष्ण सत्त्वमाहो रजस्तमः।
गुड।
उषा श्रीनिवासन भगिनी।
श्रीभगवानुवाच त्रिविधा भवति श्रद्धा देहिनां सा स्वभावजा सात्विकी राजसी चैव तामसी चेति तां शृणु।
गुड।
श्रीमती भगिनी।
सत्त्वानुरूपा सर्वस्य श्रद्धा भवति भारत श्रद्धामयोऽयं पुरुषः यो यच्छ्रद्धः स एव सः।
यो यच्छ्रद्धः स एव सः। That is Shraddha. We are talking Shraddha-traya vibhaga yogam, no? Shraddha yo yच्छ्रद्धः स एव सः.
In this cha is there, so I
No, the thing is that in Sanskrit, actually it is sa only, but when it comes as a compound letter with yat shraddha, becomes yach shraddha. That time this cha has to be used.
Okay, Mahodaya.
Okay.
Shall I repeat, Mahodaya? श्रद्धामयोऽयं पुरुषः यो यच्छ्रद्धः स एव सः.
Correct. Good.
Thank you.
राजेश्वरी शिवशंकर भगिनी।
नमस्ते महोदय।
Namaste.
यजन्ते सात्विका देवान् यक्षरक्षांसि राजसाः प्रेतान् भूतगणांश्चान्ये यजन्ते तामसा जनाः।
Good.
विजयलक्ष्मी भगिनी।
अशास्त्रविहितं घोरं दभ्यन्ते ये तपो जनाः दम्भाहङ्कारसंयुक्ताः कामरागबलान्विताः.
Good.
शरद चवन महोदय।
कर्षयन्त शरीरस्थ भूतग्राममचेतसः मां चैन्वान्त शरीरस्थ तान् विदध्यासुर निश्चयान्.
No, the thing is sharirastham. One second. This is sharirastham, not sharirastha. Bhuta grama machetasah.
Okay.
And tan vidyasura nishchayan. Tan vidhi asura nishchayan. So it's called tan vidyasura nishchayan.
Tan vidyan sura nishchayan.
Not vidyan. Okay. Tan vidyasura nishchayan. Vidya.
Tan vidyasura nishchayan. Okay, sir.
Okay. Next.
Karchaya. Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. No problem. Okay. You just make those small corrections. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
One more.
Kashmira Bhagini.
Yes. कर्षयन्तः शरीरस्थं भूतग्राममचेतसः माञ्चैवान्तः शरीरस्थं तान् विद्यासुरनिश्चयान्.
Good. So we go to the new sloka for this today. Yeah.
Lalita Bhagini.
आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य
आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य
त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः
त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः
आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः
आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः.
Good. Next.
Veena Fanishri Bhagini.
यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानम्
यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानम् यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानम्
तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु
तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु
यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानम् तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु
यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानम् तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानम् तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु.
Good. Next.
Gurumurthy Mahodaya.
आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानम् तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु
आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानं तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु.
Good. Next.
Mrinalini Gopalan Bhagini.
आम् आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानं तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु.
Good. Next.
Anupama Bhatt Bhagini.
आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानं तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु.
Good. One more person.
Usha Srinivasan Bhagini.
आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य. One second, sir. Oh God, where has it gone? आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानं तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु.
So we are now discussing the way of life of a person. Okay. There are different kinds of people in the world, and different kinds of people have a different types of living styles. And Bhagavan has classified all the people. Our Vedas, Vedic culture also has classified people as sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic kind of people. We have discussed about the gunas also in the 14th chapter, where also we discuss about the various gunas and how they act, etc. Then we also had a very detailed discussion in terms of gunas and varnas. I hope you all will be remembering that. Like Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, Vaishyas, Shudras, etc. Along with gunas we discussed, and we said that it is not the person cannot say that just because his lineage is so and so, he is going to be so and so. No. It is primarily the gunas will only determine the kind of varna also. Though we say that the Brahmin's person, son is a Brahmin, and then Vaishya's family, they become a Vaishya like that. But it is not like that. It is primarily based on guna and the overall mental makeup and the kind of qualities of the person will be determined whether the person can be what kind of varna he is. So Bhagavan is now talking about if at all somebody has to ensure that if we are going to pursue our various types of goals, then we need to know what kinds of life we need to lead. So, as a part of the way of life, Bhagavan is clear that sattvic kind of way of life is the one that is conducive for spiritual growth. But one needs to understand not only sattvic but also understand rajasic and tamasic, which needs to be avoided, and also learn sattvic so that people will be able to change their way of life so that they can have spiritual progress. So now he is talking about the various kinds of things. That is a Shraddha and all. He was talking about kind of worship, etc. What kind of gods they worship, how they worship, all those things he talked about in the first 6 slokas. Now he says that Aharastvapi Sarvasya, even in the kind of food that is being taken by everyone, Trivido Bhavati Priyaha. Priyaha, that like Priyaha is liking. The liking that people have for the food by everybody, that also can be classified into 3 different buckets. Similarly, yajna, the kind of rituals that they follow, tapa means the austerities that they follow, tata in the same way, danam, the charities that they follow, tesham, all these things, you understand the differences in the 3 different ways. Okay, so he says that there are going to be 3 different types of food that is being eaten and liked by people. There are 3 different ways by which people do rituals, 3 different ways by which they do tapas, 3 different ways by which people do dhanam, and all those things you have to understand and know that what is sattvika, what is rajasic, and what is tamasic. So you need to understand all those kinds of things. So Bhagavan is now talking about the 3 gunas across 4 dimensions of yajna, tapa, dana, and aharam. So those things he is going to now talk about. Now first he is going to talk about aharam. Next.
Rajeshwari Shivshankar Bhagini.
Ayus sattva balarogya.
Ayus sattva balarogya. Ayus sattva balarogya.
Sukha priti vivardhana.
Sukha priti vivardhana. Sukha priti vivardhana.
Ayus sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardhana.
Ayus sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardhana. Ayus sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardhana.
Good. Next.
Sheila Shinde Bhagini.
Rasya snigdha stira hridyaha.
रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः
Ahara satvika priyaha.
आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः
Rasya snigdha stira hridyaha. Ahara satvika priyaha.
रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः.
Good. Next.
Srimati Bhagini.
Ayus sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardhana.
आयुः सत्त्वबलरोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः आयुः सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः.
Good. Next.
So Vijayalakshmi Bhagini.
रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः
रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः.
Good. Next.
Veena Fanishri Bhagini.
आयुः सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः
आयुस्सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धना रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः.
Good. Next.
Gurumurti Mahodaya.
आयुस्सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः.
Good. Next.
Anupama Bhagini.
आयुस्सत्त्वबलारोग्य आयुस्सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः.
Good. Next.
Kashmira Bhagini.
Yes. आयुस्सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः.
Okay, so we'll discuss about ahara. Now, when you look at it, as we were discussing yesterday, we are looking at the basic traits, whatever the individual is doing. Based on that, we are trying to understand whether he's going to be coming under the sattvic bucket, rajasic bucket, or he's going to be classified as a tamasic person. So, when you look at it, as far as our Hindu Vedic culture is concerned, most of the basic things that we do are all supposed to be spiritual only. Like when a child is born, the first thing the child does is it starts breathing. Breathing is pranayama. Pranayama, we give so much of importance in terms of spiritual growth. I think meditation and pranayama are very, very important and critical in terms of spiritual growth. And we, as a part of meditative practice, we also try to understand the flow of air. And then we try to have the understanding of the Omkara also through meditation and then through pranayama. And pranayama is emphasized a lot. We do your pranayama meditation also as a specific meditation for spiritual growth. So the first thing a child does is breathing. Breathing is also one of the spiritual process, provided we are conscious about pranayama. If you are not conscious of pranayama, then we don't bother. We may perhaps take something injurious to health is put on the packet, but still it is all being consumed because we don't care about it. Otherwise, if you look at it right from the time the child is born, pranayama kicks off. Pranayama is one of the most important things that is also a spiritual thing. The second thing that we all do is that breathing and eating. When you look at eating, we are discussed in the 15th chapter, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deha Mashtitah Pranapana Samayuktam Pachamyannam Chadurvidam. We understood that the hunger inside all of us, including animals or plants or all the living beings, is Bhagavan. So that hunger is a fire. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deha Mashtitah. So that is the hunger means satisfying that Bhagavan inside all of us is eating. So we have got a spiritual attitude towards eating also. It is not that we take anything as rubbish. No. We have an attitude that it is supposed to be satisfying the inner Bhagavan in us. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva or Brahmarpanam Brahmahabhi Brahmapno Brahmanaputam Brahmaiva Dena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Or some of us, when we eat, we say pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha. We take those kinds of things. ensure that the first thing does not even touch your teeth. Straight away we give it to the prana inside, and then we have the attitude of eating. So attitude of eating is also spiritual if you look at that way when we look at the Vedic culture. The third thing is that bathing is also one of the things. No, bathing we just if you look at our ancestors etc. They say Gange, Yamuna, Godavari, Sindhu, Saraswati, Kaveri, Jalesmin, Sanitam, Guru. They call all the names which are all supposed to be very what is that pure rivers, and it can purify the mind and soul and the body also. And then whenever we do that, we have Sannitham Guru, all the rivers we call Sannitham Guru. You please all be present in this water, and then we have a bath. We want to have a purification of our mind, not only the purification of the body. That is another thing that Vedic culture they were following. Gange, Yamune, Cheva, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmade, Sindhu, Kaveri, Jadesmin, Sannitham Guru. That's what they said. So we have the attitude towards breathing is sattvic, our culture, and then eating against sattvic, and then again when you look at it from the purpose of even bathing is going to be sattvic. Okay, now Bhagavan also when he is talking about food, I'm slightly digressing, but still it is very important from our learning point of view. When he's talking about food also, he says that he is talking the food in three different buckets. This is the first one that he's talking about Satvika Priyaha, but we have to also understand four different ways of food eating. Okay, first is that source of food is very, very important to be known. When we are going to eat, we have to know the source of food. If you look at the Vedic culture, they will ensure that the source of food is known to them. Who is making the food? What kind of food is being made? What kind of purity is maintained? All those kinds of things are known to the person so that he will not just go and eat anywhere, because they feel that food is supposed to be extremely a divine thing, and food is being offered as a inner soul, inner Bhagavan. So the source of food is extremely important in terms of understanding. Second thing, the quality of food. So if you look at the quality of food, the food that has been consumed, that is being consumed traditionally by the Hindu families all across the country is primarily sattvic. If you look at it, when we don't order something from Zomato or Swiggy, or you have any house you go, and they make a food which is a very simple food, which is sattvic food. I'm telling about a Hindu vegetarian food I'm talking about. It's a very simple food. In the case of North India, they have chawal, dal, roti. And then in the case of South India, they may have rasam, sambar, and some rice, or idli, dosa, then some roti and dal. If you look at that way, it's the most simple food. It is absolutely very, very sattvic, and they can offer very happily to the Bhagavan also. They keep the food in front of Bhagavan and eat. So when you look at it personally, when you look at it very specifically, the food that has been a culture in this country for ages, that has been followed by our grandparents and great grandparents, which we also follow sometimes, that food is purely sattvic, very, very sattvic food. Okay, one. Then the quantity of food that is being taken is also very, very important. Bhagavan has already talked in the 6th chapter when we are talking about meditation. Yukta hara viharasya, yukta swapna abhabodasya, yukta chestasya karmasu. That's what he says. Yuktahara viharasya, you need to be very, very clear in terms of how much you eat. If you overeat, you cannot do meditation. You will not be able to be concentrating on your thing. And secondly, the food means you have to eat only when you are hungry. Because hunger is a kind of Bhagavan's request that I want food. That is the time we need to give. Otherwise, keeping on eating something is all not a part of our Vedic culture. So, in the case of meditative practices, which is also a spiritual progress, Yuktahara viharasya. You need to be very, very ensure. You have to ensure that you are going to have the right quantity of food also. You are not going to. It is always said that you need to have a quarter to half stomach of food and then another half, 25% of water or something, and then balance you have to leave it open. That is the way we normally practice in terms of eating. They should not be eating the food which comes up to the throat, up to the windpipe. So that is another, the quantity of food that is eaten is also very, very important. Another mode of eating. The mode of eating is that when you offer food to, say, prasadam, you are going to offer to Bhagavan. How do you do it? We bring the prasadam, keep it in front of the idol, keep it over there, and then do some mantras and offer it to the Bhagavan. You sit down and offer. See, and then when you are going to be thinking that when you know that the Bhagavan is inside, Aham Vaishvanara Bhutva, then offering also you have to ensure that you are going to sit down and then start taking food. It is our Vedic culture does not accept people running and eating and then chewing and traveling and talking and talking over food. Those things are all not acceptable because food cannot be annam non India. You are not supposed to be having any kind of disrespectful of food. That is the Vedic culture, and they say that talking and eating and then running and eating, standing and eating, walking and eating, all those things are not correct because when you are going to have a puja and offer food to the Bhagavan, you can't be talking to a neighbor and then offer it to the Bhagavan. You have to be focused in terms of offering it, and that is the culture that we need to follow as per the Vedic tradition. I'm sure that you'll be able to understand the challenges that we have today, and I am also sure that you'll be able to appreciate the value of whatever is being talked about now in terms of knowing the source of food, knowing the quality of food, knowing the amount of food that we need to take, and the mode of respect that we give to food and eating is also extremely important. Okay, so that is at a high level. Then now when you come to the ahara satvika priyaha, satvika priya means the people who are satvik oriented. What kinds of food are they loving? Okay, so first thing is ayuhu. Ayuhu is not. If you look at the first line, Vivardhana is there again. Ayu Sattva Bhararogya Sukha Priti Vardhana. Vivardhana means it should provide increase in all those things. What is that? It should provide ayuhu. It should provide the food that you eat should be able to provide longevity. If the food is going to increase your diabetes at the age of 40 years, 60 years, for 50 years you start taking glycomet, 70 years you have got a problem, 80 years you got organs getting failed. So we have to understand whether the kind of food that we have to ensure that it has to be providing you with longevity. Ayuhu. Sattvam. Sattva means what? The food that you eat should be able to provide you with the mental strength. The mental strength is in terms of learning. Mental strength is in terms of your spiritual growth. Mental strength is also in terms of managing emotions. Mental strength is also in terms of managing situations. So sattvam. So food has got to also provide the mental strength. Apart from the balam, it has got to provide you with what? Strength. So that you are able to keep yourself fit. You have to be awake for 16 to 17 hours a day. And 17 hours a day, you need to have the right kind of energy that will be able to sustain this particular body. So, ayuhu, sattva, bala, arogyam. Arogyam means it should improve the overall health of you. Overall health means that every organ in the body should be healthy. That is what is the overall health. You should have a good sleep. You should have a good kind of bodily functions happening. You should be able to have an eyesight even at the age of 90 years. You should be able to have a good hearing. So that is arogyam. And sukha priti vivardha sukham. Sukham is what? The food that you eat, you should feel happy about it. There are many people who say, "Arey, bahut kha liya bhaiya, pet bhar gaya, abhi bahut dikkat ho raha hai." So that should not be the case. After eating, you should feel very happy, sukha. And then Preeti. Preeti means whatever food you eat, that should also be able to be conducive for people to improve the emotional connect, love with people, love with everybody. So these kinds of food is Ayu, Sattva, Bala, Arogya, Sukha, Preeti, Vivardhanaha. The one which is going to improve all these things. And how are they supposed to be? Rasyaha. Rasyaha means what? It is supposed to be delicious food. It should be tasty food. Okay, doesn't mean that tasty food means that you have to put lot of oil, put lot of things. No, the food that you eat should be very tasty. It should be a simple food but tasty food. So rasyaha. Then snigdaha. Snigdaha means the food should not be dry. In our ancient Vedic times, they say that we need to have sufficient amount of ghee in the food. So snigdaha means amount of ghee that you add to the food. Amount means that doesn't mean that you have to have a lot of. The amount of ghee that you add should be able to provide the food to be very tasty and at the same time provide the fat requirement for the body but does not highly increase the triglycerides in the body. So you need to understand all these things are the appropriate limit. It should be tasty. It should not be dry. It should be snigdaha, having some amount of oil or some amount of ghee. And stiraha, this particular food should be capable of providing with nutrition. The food should also take some amount of time. Some of the times that food should be able to remain and then provide you with very good nutrition. Stiraha. Hridyaha. Hridyaha means when you look at the food should be pleasing to you. When the food is brought and served on the table to any Mahatma, the food should be appealing to them. Okay, the way it is kept, the way it is served, that should be also appealing. So if that is the kind of food that is being served, that particular food is ahara satvika priyaha. So this is the kind of food that is to be normally taken by satvika people. Okay, it is supposed to. Now, if you look at satvika thing, you have to understand how Bhagavan is making these kinds of slokas beautifully. First, Bhagavan is talking about the benefits for the individual. Then only talks about the quality of food. First, he takes ayu, sattva, bala, arogya, sukha, priti vivardhanaha. So all these things should be a part of the food. So if you look at a sattvic person, when the food is served, he will not simply start eating. He will first have a look at the food in terms of how the various he will never eat. Even we have a culture of doing palisation after all the food is served. Then only we are supposed to even start taking the first morsel of rice. They have a look at all the kind of food and then try to understand what is there on the plate and then know that okay, this is going to take care of my ayu, my sattva, my bala, my arogya. All those things they should be able to first see. So Bhagavan says that the food that you eat, plus first see that whether that is going to fulfill these requirements. And then when you start eating it, it should also be tasty. Rasya, snigdha, stira, hridya. Looking also should be good. This is the kind of food ahara satvika priyaha. So this is very, very important in terms of the satvika's food. In fact, our Yajurveda, Taittiriya Upanishad and all, there are a lot of things that has been talked about food. And when the food is served, first they say annam bahukurvita. They say that you have to make a lot of food and then offer one. The other thing that the Taittiriya Upanishad talks about is that when you offer a food to anybody, you have to when anybody comes to your house, Atiti Devo Bhava is one of our values, cultural traditions. When you offer a food, we have to ensure that the food in no way is going to be inferior in the quality of food that you eat in the house day in and day out. There are a lot of people who have a different standards for what they eat vis-a-vis the standard that they maintain when the guests come in. But our Vedic scriptures say that what you eat, you have to offer, or something better than that you have to offer. That is a kind of sattvic quality. And there should not be anything running out of food. When somebody is there, you have to offer them food. That is very, very important. And I want to tell you that this culture is extremely good in North India and extremely poor in South India. I come from Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is the worst. They won't even give a god. I'm sorry if Tamilians, some of you are there, don't get offended. You may be different. But my experience in Tamil Nadu culture is that the people don't even offer a glass of water when we go there. That is the case. Whereas in North India, they don't even look at who you are. You just go anywhere in Punjab, they immediately give you a glass of lassi, glass of water, they give you peanut, they give you this thing. They ensure that you are going to be taken care of. So one of the important qualities that we need to build up is that the food that we serve is in no way inferior to the food that we eat. That is also one of the most important things. So, and then annam na, there's one more thing, that you should never reject food also. Food should never be rejected. And these are the kinds of things that has been very highly talked about in our Taittiriya Upanishad. I can also tell you some of those things. Annam nanindyad tat pratam pranova annam shariram annadam prani shariram pratidishtitam. Similarly, annam na parichakshita annam bahukurvita then na kanchana vasato pratyachakshita tad vratam. So they say that you should never make a person served with any kind of food that is going to be inferior to whatever you eat. Suppose if Kuchela is going to get that poha and give it to Lord Krishna, because that is what he is having, he is happy. That is perfectly all right. But just because Kuchela gave that and Lord Krishna blessed him, and this fellow is a Tata Birla and he's also going to take a small paper folded, this thing is not acceptable. Similarly, when you look at Kanakadara Stotram, Mangam Harehe, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, when he went to the house, that lady had nothing except for small dried up avla. She gave it with so much, such an amount of humbleness that she had nothing else to give, she gave it. But Bhagavan immediately blessed her with Kanakadara Stotram and Kanaka was flowing. So it is all very beautifully mentioned in our Vedas that we need to be extremely alert and also understanding this food. Because food is something because of the entire universe is sustained. There is also one more thing that they say is that when you are eating, somebody, supposing you are eating when you are traveling, and then or when you are going on the outdoor, then when there's say one animal, say a dog is looking at you, you are first supposed to provide the food to the dog and then only eat. That's all told in the Vedas. The crow is cawing, put some food to the crow and then eat. Because if you eat when they are hungry and they are looking at it, it does not digest to you properly. It is not supposed to be a papa. So a lot of things have been told in terms of food. Sorry, I have taken a lot of time on that. But this is the way the Sattvic person is going to be looking at food. Okay. And the kind of food that he is going to eat. Okay. Next.
Lalita Bhagini.
Yes, sir.
Kalvam lalavanat yushna.
Katvam lalavanatyushna. Katvam lalavanatyushna.
Tikshna ruksha vidahinah.
Tiksharukshavidahinah. Tiksharukshavidahinah.
Kalvam lalavanat yushna. Tikshna ruksha vidahinah.
Katvam lalavanatyushna. Tiksharukshavidahinah. Katvam lalavanatyushna. Tiksharukshavidahinah.
Maybe you need not pass there. Kalvam lalavanat yushna. Tikshna ruksha vidahinah.
Only one line, sir. Complete.
One line complete.
Okay, sir. Katvam lalavanatyushna. Tikshna rukshavidahinah.
Yeah, good.
Thank you, sir.
Mrinalini Gopalan Bhagini.
Ahara rajasasyeştaha.
Ahara rajasasyeshtaha. Ahara rajasasyeshtaha.
Dukkha pradaha.
Dukkha-shokamaya-pradaha. Dukkha-shokamaya-pradaha.
Ahara rajasasyeştaha. Dukkha
Ahara rajasasyeshtaha. Dukkha-shokamaya-pradaha. Ahara rajasasyeshtaha. Dukkha-shokamaya-pradaha.
Good. Next.
Sharat Chavan Mahodaya.
Kadvam lalavanat yushna. Tikshna ruksha vidahinah.
Katvam lavanatyuksmitya tikshna rukshavidahinah.
I think I'll
Katvam
split it all of you. I think some of you may have difficulty in understanding that. Kadu. Kadu, all of you know is bitter.
katu.
Kadu.
Bitter.
Next is amla. Amlaki. Amlaki is the one that is sour. Okay. Kadu, amla. Then lavana. Lavana is salt. Kadu, kadvamla lavana. Ushna. That is the one, the food that is going to be extremely hot. Then tikshna. Tikshna is supposed to be something that is dry, I think. Tikshna.
Something
Tikshna is extremely spicy food. Tika wala. Okay.
Tika wala, yes, right.
Spicy is tikshna. Then ruksha means extremely dry kind of a food. That is kind of ruksha. Then vidahina means anything that causes burning sensation in yourself. After eating, my heart is burning, this thing is burning, that is called vidahina. Okay. Kadu, amla, lavana, ushna, tikshna, ruksha, vidahina. So it is a combination of 7 different types of food, and they come in a single line. So please, I'll chant once, slowly understand it and chant it again. Kadvam lalavanat yushna tikshna ruksha vidahinah.
Katvam lavanatyuksnati tikshna rukshavidahinah. Katvam lavanatyuksnati tikshna rukshavidahinah.
There is something missed out. Never mind. Yeah, next somebody else, please.
Veena Fani Shri Bhagini.
Kaduvam lalavanat yushna tikshna ruksha vidahinah.
Katvam lalavanatyushna tikshna rukshavidahinah. Katvam lalavanatyushna tikshna rukshavidahinah.
Good. Next.
Usha Srinivasan Bhagini.
Ahara rajasasyeştaha.
Ahara rajasasyeshtaha. Ahara rajasasyeshtaha.
Dukkashokamaya-pradaha.
Dukkashokamaya-pradaha. Dukkashokamaya-pradaha.
Ahara rajasasyeştaha. Dukkashokamaya-pradaha.
Ahara rajasasyeshtaha. Dukkashokamaya-pradaha. Ahara rajasasyeshtaha. Dukkashokamaya-pradaha.
Good. Next.
Vijayalakshmi Bhagini.
Kadvam lalavanat yushna tikshna rukshavidahinah.
Kaduvam lalavanatyushna-dikshna-ruksha-vidahinah. Kaduvam lalavanatyushna-dikshna-ruksha-vidahinah.
Good. Next.
Sheila Shinde Bhagini.
Ahara rajasasyeştaha. Dukkashokamaya-pradaha.
Ahara rajasaseshtaha dukkashokamaya-pradaha. Ahara rajasaseshtaha dukkashokamaya-pradaha.
Good. Next.
Srimati Bhagini.
Kadvam lalavanat yushna tikshna rukshavidahinah. Ahara rajasasyeshtaha. Dukkashokamaya-pradaha.
कट्वं ललवणात्युष्णतीक्ष्णरूक्षविदाहिनः आहाराराजसस्येष्टाः दुःखशोकामयप्रदाः.
Next.
Anupama Bhagini.
कट्वं ललवणात्युष्णतीक्ष्णरूक्षविदाहिनः आहाराराजसस्येष्टाः दुःखशोकामयप्रदाः.
Good. Next.
Gurumurthy Mahodaya.
Kadvam lalavanat yushne tikshna ruksha vidahinah. Ahara rajasasyeshtaha. Dukkashokamaya pradaha.
One more person.
Kashmira Bhagini.
Yes. Katvam lalavanatyushna-tikshna-ruksha-vidahinah ahara-rajasasyeştaah dukkha-shokamaya-pradaah.
Shokamaya-pradaha. Dukkashokamaya-pradaha.
Dukkha-shokamaya-pradaah.
Good. So in this in this one, no, if you look at the previous sloka, he talked about the benefit for the person who is going to eat it. So the person who is going to eat, Satvika person, before he is eating, he is looking at it from the perspective of what is the kind of benefit that he is having. Ayu Sattva Balarogya. Whereas here, the benefits are coming in the second line. First, he is looking only at what is the kind of food that is being served to him. That is what he is interested in. So Kadu, Amala, etc. Okay, now let us go into the meaning of this. Kadu. Kadu is, and all these things, if you look at the Kadu, Lavana, Uttna, all these kinds of things, it is not that we are not supposed to eat. What Adi Shankara says is that, it is a commentary, all these kinds of food also should be a part of our normal food, but we need to ensure that we are not going to go beyond the limit. There has got to be a limit for everything. So all these things you may have to have ati. Ati means all these things are in extreme cases. Ati kadu. Ati lavana, ati ushna, like that we have to understand. Okay. So kadu is bitter, extremely bitter. Ati kadu means extremely bitter food. Okay. Then ati amla, extremely sour food. The buttermilk is extremely sour. You are not even able to touch it. The curd is extremely sour. The idli dosa batter is extremely sour. So kadu amla. Lavana. Lavana is salt, extremely salty. If you look at pickles that we get, it is full of salt. It's full of sodium chloride. It can immediately make the blood extremely thin. Okay. So kadu, amla, lavana. Then ati ushna, having steaming hot stuff. That also Bhagavan says is not good. What Adi Shankara says in his commentary is that the food that you eat should be at your body temperature, preferably. Body temperature is 37, 38 degrees Celsius. Okay. So the food that you should eat also should not make the body to struggle, and you should also be in the same temperature. That is what Adi Shankara says. But some people have steaming hot kinds of stuff, which may even burn the entire things inside. He says that is also not good. So kadu, amala, lavana, ati ushna, tikshna. Tikshna is spicy hot. Okay, extremely hot. No, like if you look at some of the places in some, there are some specialities like Kolhapur is supposed to be extremely spicy food you get, and then when you go to this place like Andhra, also many places you get extremely spicy. Okay, but everybody will not be able to manage. But the thing is that they take spicy food and then compensate that with lot of ghee, or a lot of curd to compensate for that because they have got liking for that very highly spicy food. But nevertheless, they also have a problem, but they try to compensate with ghee and then this. But what Bhagavan says is that that is also not good. Then ruksha is dry food that you are going to have. Anything that is dry is also not going to be good for the food because you're eating food. And then any food vidahina means any food that is going to create a tremendous amount of burning sensation in the entire food pipe is also bad. So you will be able to relate it to it. No, there are many times when we go for a kind of a dinner or a party, we come back and then we have so much of difficulty. Oh, we have burning sensation here. We feel very discomfort. We keep on burping. We are not able to digest that kind of food. Night you go to the bed and you start rolling this way, that way and all. Till it all gets digested, we all have a tough time. So what Bhagavan says is that in the earlier sloka, when you eat, that should provide you with happiness. After having a meal, there should be sukha inside. But having this kind of a food while eating it is fantastic. We have gobi Manchurian and then a lot of spicy tadka, gidka, everything we eat. Then after some time, we also feel, no, I should have avoided this. It's really burning in myself. Do we have salt? I want to have a glass of or do we have some soda with fresh lime? I want to take that. So that is what happens because we find that we eat out of desire or taste to etc. But we are not able to digest it. So these kinds of food, ahara, rajasik, ishtaha. This is the kind of food which is all liked by the rajasic people. Because these kinds of food, when we have adi of all these things, extreme conditions of kadu, amla, lavana, etc., that also provides with tremendous amount of energy which the people start using it for different kind of work. They will be able to work 20 hours a day and they will not be able to think of anything else. Okay. And there is also another lethal combination. People eat onion with garlic and ginger and chili paste, and then they eat it along with that. So some kind of stuff they eat. So these kinds of things, etc., they will not be able to make a person to sit down spiritually and think about because after eating he'll have all kinds of problems. That's what Bhagavan says, dukkha shoka mayapradaha. He says dukkha. After eating, the person feels very unsatisfied. Array, this is burning, yeah, and somebody goes into the bathroom, then starts vomiting also. So dukkha. Shokam means I have been eating it for the last 20 years. Now I got ulcer. I have been eating it for the last 30 years. I got diabetes now. I got a kidney problem. I got a stone problem. All those problems are going to come later. So you are not only going to have a problem now, but you are going to have a problem in the future also. The next day you are going to feel unhappy because of the food you have eaten. And then it is also going to have a lasting problem in terms of affecting the health because it is not taking care of you. So that is what is the kind of food that is being eaten by a Rajasic kind of people because this kind of food will not be able to provide Ayu, Sattva, Balarogya, Sukha, Priti, Vivardhana. It will not provide. It is not only going to provide Dukkha and Shoka. Dukkha means after eating, you regret as to why I have taken this kind of food. And then after eating it many times like that, because you got a habit, you got a vasana to go and eat like that every other time. And then you have, after over a period of time, you got a problem of something or other in the health conditions. So dukkha shoka mayapradaha, shoka mayapradaha. So this is the kind of food that is eaten by many of the Rajasic kind of people who are extremely active people who are oriented towards personal kinds of requirements. So he says that if you want to be a sattvic person, please try to have that kind of food, because if you have this kind of a food, you will not have any mind for you to sit down for meditation or reading some spiritual things. You'll only feel like getting back into your house and then having a sleep, or you have to struggle with the kind of food only, because you only bother about the problems you are facing after having the food. You cannot find time and mind for those kinds of spiritual growth. So avoid this kind of food. Ati kadu. That is extreme conditions of kadu, amala, lavana, utna, tikshna, ruksha, vidahina. Please avoid these kinds of things, because they can only provide dukkha in the short term and shokam in the long term. That's the Bhagavan's advice. Next.
Anupama Bhagini.
Yatayamang gatarasam.
Yatayamangatarasam. Yatayamangatarasam.
Uti paryushitanchayat.
Uti paryushitanchayat. Uti paryushitanchayat.
Yatayamang gatarasam. Uti paryushitanchayat.
Yatayamangatarasam. Uti paryushitanchayat. Yatayamangatarasam. Uti paryushitanchayat.
Good. Next.
Gurumurti Mahodaya.
Uchishtamapi chamedyam.
उच्छिष्टमपि च मेद्यम् उच्छिष्टमपि च मेद्यम्
Bhojanam tamasapriyam.
भोजनं तामसप्रियम् भोजनं तामसप्रियम्
Uchishtamapi chamedyam. Bhojanam tamasapriyam.
उच्छिष्टमपि च मेद्यम् भोजनं तामसप्रियम् उच्छिष्टमपि च मेद्यम् भोजनं तामसप्रियम्.
Good. Next.
Rajeshwari Shivashankar Bhagini.
Yatayamang gatarasam. Uti paryushitanchayat. Uchishtamapi chamedyam. Bhojanam tamasapriyam.
यातयामङ्गतरसं पूतिपर्युषितं च यत् उच्छिष्टमपि चामेध्यं भोजनं तामसप्रियम्.
Good. Next.
Lalita Bhagini.
Full sloka.
Yatayamangatarasam Putiparyushitam chayat Uchishtamappi chamedhyam Bhojanam tamasapriyam.
Good. Next.
Sheila Shinde Bhagini.
यातयामङ्गतरसं पूतिपर्यूषितं च यत् उच्छिष्टमपि चामेध्यं भोजनं तामसप्रियम्.
Good. One more person.
Vijayalakshmi Bhagini.
यादयामङ्गतरसं पूतिपर्युषितं च यत् उच्छिष्टमपि चामेत्यं भोजनं तामसप्रियम्.
Good. So here Bhagavan says, what is the Bhojanam Tamasa Priyam, which is the kind of food that is liked by tamasic people. We have to understand that it is not that they like this food, Tamasa Priyam. They may like it, but it is this kind of food also which they don't say no to it. They are okay to take this also. Okay, you have to understand it that these kinds of food also they are okay to consume. Bhojanam Tamasa Priyam. What kind of food? Yatayamam, undercooked food that is not properly cooked up, and then when you eat, some of the things are absolutely raw. So yatayamam. Gatarasam, they have overboiled certain things, All the nutrition is gone in the water which they have thrown away after cooking. Or they have taken something, the juice is out. What is the nutrients and other important things are all gone. So it is called Gata Rasam. So that is gone. What the nutrition required for a person, it is not there in the particular food. So Yata Yamam Gata Rasam. Puti. Puti is putrid. Putrid is foul smelling food. Okay, the food, sometimes when it is all pretty old or bad food, it has got a very foul smell. So that kind of food also is not to be consumed. Puti. Paryushitham. Paryushitham means keeping food overnight and taking. If you look at 25, 30 years back, I don't think this kind of keeping the food overnight and eating was very common like the way it is common today. Today, I think in India it is pretty common nowadays. And when you look at our next generation of people who are not in our country and in some other place, due to various reasons, they are only dependent upon a food which is, they only have to have a processed food available and then microwave and refrigerator. If these three things are there, the food requirement is taken care of. They have the refrigerator which keeps food for 7 days. They got a microwave with which they able to heat the food and eat. So, but if you look at our Vedic things, Paryushitam is the food that has been kept overnight, that has been banned. They say that that is not going to be conducive at all. If you look at that way in our things, because why they say this is not good is, we have to understand that the food is being offered to a inner Bhagavan. If the food cannot be offered to the inner Bhagavan, then that food is banned. So if you feel that yesterday's food, whatever I left it to the refrigerator, if I can make it as a morning prasada for Bhagavan, not acceptable. So that in that context, Paryushitam, overnight cooked food is not also acceptable as per Bhagavan. Okay. So, Paryushitam chayate. Uchittam is that you go and then have food. Then you have half of the pizza and I am not able to take the balance half. I pack it up and again keep it up. So then leftovers being taken for the subsequent days, morning, lunch, night, dinner, etc. I took one dosa, but I could not finish it. I have half dosa kept in the refrigerator. That is uchittam. Uchittam is that half food, half eaten food. Okay, it may be eaten by you, it may be eaten by anybody, but half eaten food also is not supposed to be good because these food and the amedyam is something that cannot be offered to Bhagavan as prasada. So these food which cannot be offered, all these food we cannot offer. The one which is undercooked food you cannot offer to Bhagavan. You cannot offer food of Gatarasam. Smelling food you cannot give. Overnight food you cannot offer to Bhagavan as prasada. Carried over food which has been half eaten you cannot give. So and even other things is that if you look at that way, except some specific cultures, in the case of Kashmiri Brahmins, I know that they used to offer some meat to Bhagavan during the Shivratri. Otherwise, if you look at our entire culture, Hindu Sanatana Dharma culture, I don't think anybody offers non-vegetarian food or egg or any kind of meat or fish to Bhagavan. So that cannot be offered. So if you cannot offer those kinds of food to Bhagavan, then it is also unfit for us to consume. But if the person is going to consume the food, which is undercooked, which has lost its nutrition, which is foul smelling, which has been carried over, which has been half eaten, and which is unfit for giving it to Bhagavan, that kind of person who is okay eating that kind of a food is called a tamasa. Okay, and those kinds of tamasa people will have an extremely difficult challenge in terms of spiritual development. So that is what Bhagavan says in this sloka, Yatayamam Katarasam Puti Paryushanam Chayate Uchittam Abhishamedyam Bhojanam Tamasa Priyam. I am sure that if you go back 30, 40 years back, the way we have been brought up or way when we had grandfathers and grandmothers, I think most of these things were not there. I think every day they used to be making some hot kind of food and then they serve it. Simple food will be there, but still it will be hot, made properly and then served. And the same food can be also offered to the of Bhagavan. So the Bhagavan says that this is all the food that is eaten by the tamasa kind of people. I think we'll close here and then tomorrow I'll try to go slightly faster. Okay. I took a long time in terms of talking about food. And the next chapter is going to be Yajna and Tapa. I think we'll be able to do much faster in those kinds of things. Okay.
So tomorrow is Friday. Is there class tomorrow?
I don't think that Fridays we have been having holidays ever. Only if it is the Ekadashi, we're not having classes. Otherwise, Fridays we are having classes. Okay, I'll complete the class. Aharastvapi sarvasya trivido bhavati priyah yajnastapasthatha dhanam tesham bhedamimam shunu ayus sattva bala rodya sukha priti vivardhana rasya snigdha stira hridyaha ahara satvika priyaha खड्वं ललवनात् युष्णतीक्ष्णरूक्षविदाहिनः आहारा राजसस्येष्टाः दुःखशोकामयप्रदाः यातयामं गतरसं पूतिपर्युषितं च यत् उच्चिष्टमपि चामेध्यं भोजनं तामसप्रियम् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ